This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, another Town Hall Academy where we take a single subject each and every week in the industry and we kind of jump all over it and tear it apart along with my guests who are going to be introduced here in a second. But first, breaksforbreast.com. It happens in October each and every year. It is a great fundraiser nationally for the monies to go to Cleveland Clinic for breast cancer vaccine research for triple-negative breast cancer. $1.8 million earned so far since it started. Every dime goes to the Cleveland Clinic for this great cause. Look through the website. Great episodes that we've done to help you best understand. Thank you so much for being here. Couldn't do it without you. And let me pay a little homage to our great sponsors. You know, for over 30 years, NAPA TRACS has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the best, most comprehensive SMS in the industry. We'll prove to you that TRACS is the single best shop management system in the business. Find NAPA TRACS on the web at NAPATRACS.com. And AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching will help you shift your gears and redefine success. Imagine your business not just meeting, but exceeding every single goal. AutoShopCoaching.com. And are you ready to optimize training with today's class? Well, in just 5 minutes daily, boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Join your peers at todaysclass.com. Okay, everyone, I am so excited to introduce this panel. It's the team from NAPA TRACS. We just did a spot for you. Hey, guys.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much, Carm. Thank you for having us.
No problem. Hey, John Luttrell is here, General Manager of NAPA TRACS, and Ben Dexter, the National Training Manager for NAPA TRACS. Listen, I have gone on record to say, I'm not sure we're using our SMSs in our industry to the highest point. Yeah, okay, NAPA's here, I get it. They've got a fabulous system. However, whatever they are, we're going to talk about today happens to cover, if you will, I believe, all of North America, right?
Absolutely. This is it's not a TRACS problem. This is a problem with all of the SMSs out there. This is a problem with most of our shops, our shop managers, our shop owners. They don't know what they have, and because they don't know what they have, they don't know how to use it, to the fullest extent.
Yeah, you sit down with a shop owner, doesn't matter what SMS, and say, how's that labor matrix going for you? And then they say, what?
What labor matrix?
Labor what?
Labor what?
What am I supposed to do with that? And how does that work? And will it help my business? And those are all great questions. So we're here to talk about getting the most from your SMS. Now, I know you guys have a lot of great training that really supports everything that you do, your knowledge shift, your knowledge transfer, your user ability. But what we really want to find out from both of you, John and Ben, what are some of the big things, really big things when you're out there, Ben, in your teaching and your training, that people are discovering, shop owners are discovering that they had not known about or used?
Without a doubt, the moment of realization when a shop owner or an operator, a user, if you will, of TRACS, has the eye-opening experience that it's not just an invoicing tool. That's rather rewarding for me. There is some influence that they have on the business. I'm not going to go as far as to say control, but they have influence over the profitability, the productivity, just by simply using the features. A lot of folks out there just use their SMS as a glorified invoicing tool, and that's what I get to do every day, is show shop owners and operators, TRACS users, that there's much more depth to our application than meets the eye. And I think all shop managements are created equal in that way. I think they all have that same hurdle.
John, it just hit me. I want to stop handwriting. I got an SMS, and they think they bought silver, and they really have gold.
Yes. So Ben and I recently did a little training exercise. We did a podcast of our own where we likened the typical shop management owners, the typical product that they had. It doesn't matter whether it's TRACS or somebody else, but they're treating a Corvette like a minivan. So they're taking that Corvette and they're driving down to Walmart and they're picking up their groceries and they're driving home. And while that Corvette is great at doing that, you have so much more capability if you just knew what buttons to push or how to set it up properly from the get-go. And it's not a TRACS problem. This is everybody's system that's out there. And too often we see the shop owner default to his service manager. No offense to the service managers who are on the call or who are listening to us today. But if you're the owner, nobody should know how to run that better than you, period. you cannot seed how that system is set up, how that system operates, and how that system effectively manages your day-to-day profit to somebody else other than you or your spouse.
That's a huge takeaway for everyone to think about. Don't relegate any responsibilities to the power of your SMS to anyone but you, the owner. Or, as you say, your significant other, if they're working in the business with you. But what if I had a great general manager and I said, hey, this isn't my cup of tea, learn it. And everything you learned, I want to know what you're learning. It works too, yeah.
I lived that example, Carm. The owners that I worked for when I was a TRACS customer were largely that way. They used it up to a certain amount, a certain level that satisfied them. And when I came on board, I used it at that level. And then I said, well, hey, what is this over here? And how does this work? And what does that do? And at that point, they relied on me to advance my understanding and application of what I've learned. And I would just let them know what I did. But John's exactly right. If somebody's not 100% involved in the process, they're going to have a hard leading by example when they don't know. Absentee owners, I think, are the greatest example of, I put a mid-level hourly employee that's a service writer, and I'm entrusting my business, my livelihood to this individual. I think we talked about this before, John. It's the tail wagging the dog. That person the business essentially because they have the power of their own limitation.
It's an effective practice. I own the shop. Ben's my general manager. I trust Ben like I trust myself. But what happens when Ben goes on vacation? What happens when the guys down the street hire Ben away? Ben's been with me now 10 years, right? I've always got to fight the fact that there's somebody else that wants that Ben Dexter from me to go to work for him. And when that happens, the question really is, okay, I'm right back to, I don't even know how he set it up. I don't even effectively understand why he did what he was doing in a lot of cases. So just something to think about.
I did listen to your NAPA TRACS podcast. Nice job, guys. It was well done. But I got to go back to the Corvette minivan example. I think this could be the most powerful takeaway from this episode. And here's how I'm thinking about it. I've got this Corvette, and it can go really, really fast. Think of fast as the words comprehensive. All this great power. And I have this piece of software, and I'm only pressing the pedal to 25 miles per hour. And it can go so much faster. I'm a little afraid. I'm not sure I'm ready for that inertia thing to happen. And that's where I believe all this training, all these networking groups, all of this, you got to ask. It's the 20 mile an hour Corvette. Everybody's got it. They're maybe at different MPHs, but say, for example, 100, call it 100 miles an hour, 100% usage. And again, I keep hearing about this. I remember chatting with a group of shop owners one day, and I said, what would you give your eye teeth if somebody would come in and spend a week with you to show you how all these switches get turned on and how they're used? And they said that we pay handsomely. So if you know it, you'll use it. I mean, that's the basic part here, right, John?
Well, that's what we hope, but it starts out, I can't tell you, just from our own experience. And I would say that the other shop management solution providers in the industry have similar stories. It's time to set up Joe's Auto Service. We send people on site to help with the onboarding. So do some of the other vendors in the industry. Other ones, it's just they call in and do that. But our guy shows up, and the guy says, yeah, I've got to leave and go get my daughter from softball practice. I've got to take my son over here. Our person's driven 3, 4, 5 hours to get there. So as a shop owner, whatever your agreement is to, this is when the training is being done. This is when the installation is being done. This is what we're committing to on our side. Please hold up your end of the bargain as well. Don't miss that opportunity. Don't think, well, I'm just going to learn it on Friday night when nobody's here. It's Tuesday afternoon at 3:00 in the afternoon. I've got something else scheduled. This is just from years of experience. We've seen it over and over and over again, and it needs to change. So challenging some people out there, and I hope you're listening.
So when you're out there in the sales environment and people are taking a look at SMS softwares, do they really realize that it's the single most important tool in the company?
They don't treat it like that. They don't. You're right, Carm. It's used on every single vehicle, every time, every car that comes in there goes through that system and run through a process. Whether it's parts, labor, sublets that you're putting on that vehicle, it's all part of the process that you build, that you design, that you implement, whether it's a retail customer or the fleet customer, there's a process to do that. And that SMS will manage that process for you.
Absolutely. The reality that the number one tool in the shop isn't in fact housed in a drawer of a toolbox. It didn't come off the tool truck is something that shop owners, I think deep down they know what they have. The question is, do they have the wherewithal to let that trickle down from themselves first? Like John's example of a shop owner that leaves when we go to do on-site training. What you allow, you encourage. If they're looking at the business, in my perspective, I kind of lead by example in the time that I spent in the Bays. The reality was, how could I ask somebody to do something that I wasn't doing or that I wasn't intimately aware of or involved with? And the reality is, if an owner from the top down lets his people or her people know that the reality is this is the most important tool, we need to master it, that's going to have a huge impact on our day. I think the two biggest problems in our industry is, one, my car wasn't fixed on time. I know the solution to that riddle. And the second one is my car wasn't fixed right the first time. I also know, I think, the solution to that riddle, and it all lies in the SMS and the people behind the keyboard. I think that's where it all starts and stops.
I got to tell you, one of the things that you guys are doing as a company, and this is not a super, super duper high five, but it's unique. You're heading out to Omaha tomorrow, Ben, you were telling me, and you're going to get in front of clients. You're going to get in front of non-users, users. I mean, it's all part of this whole NAPA banner. And you're going to spend time showing TRACS. And if it's not to potential clients, it's the people that currently have it. What I want to know, and you've been doing these, you said 600-700 people in the last year. That's a wonderful number. What's the big takeaways that they're walking? You see eyes light up, bing, and you're showing stuff. If you could share with us a few of those things that are really helping to shape a business in a much better light for themselves, what are they all excited about?
I think the reality of in-person training, it accommodates the three different learning styles. So we have kinesthetic learning, right? They got to put their hands on it. You get visual learners, they can watch it. And you got the auditory people, they can just listen to it. The reality of an in-person experience is that we answer all those questions. And we can answer the tough ones too.
Ben, features. I'm curious about features when somebody says, oh, wow, that would really make my business better. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my God, there is a labor matrix. I've heard people talk about that. What are the top three that you're seeing eyes light up? Features.
Inventory control has to be the first one. Believe it or not, labor matrix is common. I think labor matrix is something that people have heard. You've heard about people using Parts Matrix. But when it comes down to inventory control, the lack in the industry of true, proper inventory management has been an eye-opening experience for a lot of people. How simple it really is when you break it down to ones and zeros and you explain on-hand value, work in progress, the movement of that inventory, and TRACS being backed by a distribution company, you would imagine our inventory controls are rather robust. And they don't have to be an expert at flying a space shuttle to operate the inventory control, but that is money. That is their money in the form of an alternator, a starter, a spark plug, a filter, some inanimate object that they've tied up their money in. And once they get control of that, the trickle-down effect to me is remarkable. We have service writers that are accountable, technicians that are accountable, the entire business is, and the vendors that supply the customer. So the number one, I think, in my recent experience has been inventory. Number two, when it gets to profitability, the matrices, absolutely. I think people have been doing some form of labor matrix for years. When the book says 3.8 hours, do they round up to 4.5? But that's inconsistent. And it's something that not every shop is geared to do that with multiple service writers. So labor matrix inside of TRACS is rather easy to operate and provides that you could deploy a strategy. So showing somebody labor matrix is like showing the old ratchet and wrench parts matrix. It's got like 5 tiers in it and people smile and they're like, hey, I got that off the internet. But when you show them a labor matrix and say, here's how easy it is, here's how you implement it, here's how you grow into a strategy to deploy it, it's like printing money. Outside of profitability is kind of productivity with regard to recommended services. There's a reason that there are billboards out there that say there's $70 billion of underperformed and undone maintenance. We don't know how to present it to the customer. We don't know how to follow back up on that in the future. But ultimately, quick quote and the way that we do our recommended services and TRACS can be done at a grassroots level. And they can also be farmed out to a marketing company. So we allow quite a bit of expansion there. But I think those would be the big three for me.
John, it's so interesting to hear him say inventory is up there. Is it possible to pull every part that you purchased from, example, NAPA, and then say, oh, look at that. I bought that 16 times. I think I should stock it. Does anybody ever do something like that?
Absolutely. And there are reports in the system that'll come back and show you what a movement report has been over the last 5 quarters and make a suggestion as to what you should stock. So there's a lot of areas like that. Let's be honest, people stock less today than they ever have before, yet they want the car out faster than they've ever wanted it out before. I mean, I used to be the guy that would go sell those stocks of parts to the Ben Dexters of the world and then come back and manage that inventory for them. And there's less and less of that, but everybody's stocking something. And the question is, are you keeping what you really need to keep? And that's one of the things that we do very, very well.
So interesting. I can go back in the day and saying, oh my God, you had to have, 100 belts on the shelf. You don't need that anymore. But when you're thinking brakes, when you're thinking rotors, and you're thinking of oxygen sensors, whatever it is, you may only need 2 or 3, but you're in a market where there's all kinds of Toyotas. You're not paying attention to that. You love the fact that you've got all these cars and all these clients, but son of a gun, I got this Corolla and there's like 80 of them in my marketing area, and I need an oxygen sensor at least once a month for that, and I'm waiting on it. The intelligent part that I love about an inventory control piece is that if you run it every, say, quarter, you can take off the shelf, which you don't need anymore. Again, being proactive as an owner on what your inventory levels are. But Ben and John, to your points, where's our client service rep, your supplier's salesperson actually helping you manage that?
We've had a lot of success with an outside sales team that understood how to use that system. They could walk in there, run a stocking report and say, let's run a stock order for the day, make a couple of changes and drop that order. And then literally at times come back and say, let's look at your line of belts that you are stocking. Let's make sure that what's in your system, what the system says is in your system, is what's really on the shelf or hanging, from the belt racks. And by doing that, you do that 1 month, the next month you come back and do the filters, the next month you come back and do the brakes, the next month you come back and do, whatever the next line is. At the end of the year, you've been through all the lines that you stock. Your inventory is pretty close. If you're an owner of a shop, I remember Ben used to run an exception report every Friday and show me what's on hand that I don't stock. Items had gotten bought. They'd been received. They got pulled off a repair order. Now they were sitting on a shelf. He'd return those back. What was sold at the end of the week that I never received? Okay, I missed a PO somewhere. And so you end up with a negative volume quantity. Things like that. It's very easy to find out what's disappearing.
Yeah, red flags.
Red flags. Yeah, what's disappearing off the shelf, things like that. There's value in doing it correctly.
So interesting that you picked Ben inventory as your number one eye-opening takeaway. And just in this last 8 minutes, John, you've proven, and hell, go listen to on the Aftermarket Radio Network, Hunt Demarest talk about that black hole of warranty claims and cores and alleged defectives and new part returns that can cost you an arm and a leg. And let me see, the SMS says my gross profit is here. The accounting system says my gross profit is here. Ooh, how do we fix the gap? It's really understanding and knowing your shop management system. Hey, let's face it. Your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA TRACS has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing tracks to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. TRACS always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, we'll be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, TRACS was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA TRACS, that's NAPATRACS.com. Auto shop owners, as we roll into a new year, it's time to reflect. How did 2023 treat your shop? If you're shaking your head or unsure, you're not alone. If last year left you wanting more, ask yourself, what's changing this year? If the path forward seems foggy, it's time to turn on the high beams with AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching. They have the map you need to navigate the road ahead. With targeted advice on operations, finances, and team building, AutoFix guides shops from uncertainty to undeniable success. Don't let another year pass you by. If you're ready for a change but don't know where to start, AutoFix is your next right turn. Visit AutoshopCoaching.com today. Your journey to a better business begins here. Strengthen your shop's entire team with today's class. Everyone from technicians to service advisors can access impactful training on their phones in just 5 minutes a day. Opt for solo sessions or ignite friendly competition, challenging team members to climb the leaderboard for the highest score. Our effective daily training ensures measurable progress, helping you develop your team. Train smarter, not harder, with today's class and transform your shop and your people. Start seeing results today at todaysclass.com. Profitability was your number 2, Ben. Is it the gross margin piece of that that's important? And again, you said productivity. So give me an idea, if we're going to get the most out of our SMS, how do profitability and productivity factor in that?
If we address profitability first, then as we become more productive, it just exponentially gets better. I think there's a lot of folks that are working on their mousetrap. They're trying to make the shop more efficient, but if it's not profitable, what are we doing? I think we're just putting more laps on the treadmill. We're not actually making any progress. So when it comes to profitability, what I've shown over and over again, and for many years now, actually, I think the shift in the industry, the shift in the paradigm when it comes to pricing relates to what am I buying those parts for? What do I sell them for? And what is the gross profit of my labor? Labor, frankly, is the highest opportunity for profit in the shop. So as soon as a shop owner or operator gets that, and they say, okay, I can get behind that. I think emotions, drive focus, right? So if we can get to somebody and explain to them, look, you're grinding. Are you making any progress? Are you struggling in this area? Are your salespeople having trouble at the counter? Well, here's an idea. If parts and labor are about 50-50, in most shops, if you run a sales report, they are pretty darn close to each other in an annual capacity. What if my cost of my parts were lower than the industry average? What shop coaches have been teaching for years? What if that was a little bit lower in exchange for a boost in Labor Matrix, which would produce a higher labor gross profit? So labor is more, in my opinion, a reflection of the experience at the shop, where somebody can price shop me on parts at 5 different places with a wristwatch.
One of the things I think we do well is when you come on our platform is we have already built out a parts matrix with close to 40 lines that says start this way. And we do it. We do have 3 different profiles. We have a basic, we have a retail, and we have a fleet, so that you can actually, we call it retail, business, and fleet. So we have 3 separate profiles to start from, because a lot of customers, you come on new and you're like,
where do I start? How do I do this?
Where do I start? And I'll be honest, back when we first started doing this, 25 years ago, we would say, all right, let's build 3 or 4 together, and then you do them. That's your homework. And nobody did it. And so therein lies the problem. So what we've done is we've actually created these profiles, and I'm sure we're not the only ones. I don't think we're the only geniuses out there. So look at what's there. Can you clone that and start from here? Can you start with this and go here, as opposed to having to build everything out? And I think that's one of those things that's important for a lot of new users to be able to do that. I don't know.
No, I think it's really important. And in fact, I will ask that question. I'm going to call it a template, a template that you've got Parts Matrix templates out there. 40 positions in a template? 40?
Yeah. We're starting to break down between 0 and 75 cents. Here's this profit.
What?
Yeah. And then, 76 cents to $1 and $1 to... And what we've done is we've taken a lot of the best ones that are out there. So, you talk about AutoFix, you talk about ATI. They have built nice profiles and templates. We've incorporated several of those in there that can help guide the user of that system to manage that platform accordingly. So, yeah, and we've got them for basic, for, business, and then fleet as well. So if you're taking care of a guy's 5 trucks he might be as a business, and the fleet right across the street that has 40 trucks, they get a different profile completely.
So guys, tell me about the top reporting that your clients love to get. Share with their people, look at their productivity, there's got to be a daily discipline or maybe a weekly or a monthly. So when our clients that are out there, your TRACS customers, get this software and they say, so what does it tell me? Can I press a button here and what happens? Are you helping them appreciate and understand reporting, Ben?
Yes, without a doubt. Our reporting is very robust and talking about from all over the map. If there's a report inside of Enterprise, if you think of a need, we have a report. Now, there are some shop owners that they don't know what they need yet. So we give them a daily sales report package. It's 7 reports wrapped up into one, and it's a single button push. So it's going to account for their income for the day, cash drawer. It's going to help them balance their taxes. It's going to help them show their sales, inventory movement. It's all encompassing. Even accounts receivable is there. But I think the shops that, as you put it, sit down and they talk about reports with their team as a coaching method, sales by service writer is phenomenal. That takes the individual service writers and compares them to their peers, and then is a comprehensive type layout. So it shows the total shop performance, and then it shows each individual service writer all the way down to effective labor rate.
Well, John, it looks like you guys got that all hammered out. But when you're out there in the field, again, it goes back to our discussion is getting the most out of your SMS. You can stare at a report and it's all numbers, but I guess we have to rely on the coaches in our industry to say, hey, this is what we can do with those numbers.
First of all, we also have dashboards. So if you just don't want to look at, ones and zeros on a piece of paper, we do have dashboards that can help you show you. And the red lines here that are set to specific target points.
Tolerances. Yeah. Okay.
Tolerances. Yeah. So here's where I am. Here's what the red line says. I'm either above it or below it. And then, of course, they can also, they can look on their phone and see what the day's looking like at any given time as well. So those features and those tools are there to help the customer understand that. But I've always said, back from my days to the field, everybody needs a profit coach. Everybody needs somebody to hold them accountable to the number, or we all get lazy. So there are people that can help you with that. There are some people on our teams that can help with that. We're not saying that's what we are as a team, but I do employ a lot of industry professionals that can help with that. That's not to say we're trying to be RSOT or AutoFix or ATI. Those groups are super important to the customers who want to build and grow their business.
I love that you said you need a profit coach. In fact, that has really moved me in a very big way, John, because I know how many people say, I don't need a coach. No one needs to tell me how to run my business. Are you making a lot of profit? How about if I tell you that it's a profit coach, not a regular coach, not a business coach, but a profit coach? I'm really big on this terminology switch in the industry. I love profit coach. And the other day I was thinking of how do we help coaches really be more appreciated in the industry? And I came up with, because they're really subject matter experts, just like ASE has, right? But on the business side. So thank you for that, profit coach. I love it.
Again, they've all gone to classes on how to fix this breaks, but now we've got ADOS. And what are they doing? So now I've got to learn how to fix ADOS. And they're going to go to a class on that, we hope. Or they've gone to this class over here on Ford drivability and to understand how these features are, the particular problems of these particular systems. That's been around for years. How is learning how to make more money any different? It should be the most important thing you do, because that's why you do it. You don't do it just because you like working on cars. You're doing it because you got to put the family through to retirement.
So a bunch of years ago, I was working from a supplier's perspective on a gross profit margin matrix. And it was a very difficult time back in the 90s that we were really working and trying to help people understand, way before the quality of SMSs that we have today, what it really means and how it works. Can you show me a template? And to your point, Ben, it was that we can go out and get one that's on the internet. And an individual gets an SMS system and they're, even if they're upgrading and they says, wow, do you have any kind of template that, I could have to get me started? Do you guys have that?
Yes, we do. So we do them for parts. We do them for labor. First of all, we've got multiple profiles for the retail, the business, and the fleet customer. And inside of those, you have pricing profiles and you have labor profiles. These are where the matrices come into place, as well as, well, I want my parts to be, I want ignition parts to be this way. I want NAPA belts and hoses to be that way. I want parts from the OE vendor to be another way. And all of those things are also varied based upon acquisition costs. So we start out with pretty intricate templates that then allow you to go and customize those templates to fit your individual need. But it certainly beats the old days of, well, let's show you how to make 3 or 4, rules and then leave that as homework, which they may or may not do. And then they end up with a very simple catch-all matrix that really didn't affect their profit like they think it could or should. Ben?
So Ben, do you hear a lot about, thank you for the startup, but oh my God, it's a little heavy. It's a little too layered for me. Can they turn things on and off?
Yes, it's 100% up to the user when they decide to use it. So these templates that John's talking about, we give them to the customers with the software. Mm-hmm. Whether they use them is up to them. But we also give them the design that differs from the traditional model. So for example, our parts matrices, they're a linear design. They're not the 5 to 7 tier, your grandfather's ratchet and wrench design. They're 54 tiers, which gives you 2 important things. You get the opportunity to find the highest quantity sold items. That'd be linear quantity opportunities. And you get the opportunity for a service writer not to have to move the goalposts, not to have to touch the price. Because the higher you get in that wedding cake style traditional matrix, the harder that GP hits. With regard to our labor matrix options, we have a strategy there. We have items that are guide labor. We all think that's our highest opportunity for labor matrix, but there's also diagnostic and menu rate items where it's a little bit more competitive, but there's still an opportunity to make even a fraction of a percentage adds up over time. So that's the theory behind it.
It's such as the scientific part of where pricing needs to be. But it also, I think, brings a human element into play. And I always would think that, I've got a big engine job and the owner's at the counter and he just says, well, I'm only going to make, pick a number, $800 on this job when he really could have made $1,500. For example, had we run all the stuff through the matrix, because it's not just the engine, it's everything else that goes along with it that can help the gross margin on that job. So brilliantly scientific. And it takes some of that human decision stuff out of the way.
That's right. And then you can test and measure it.
Absolutely. And it goes back to that whole, you got your coach, and the coach is very concerned about your gross profit on parts. And man, there's your tweaking tool right there.
Absolutely.
So we talked about inventory, productivity. One of you guys, and I can't remember who it was, said recommended services. Let's jump in that a little bit and say, where are the eyes lighting up, Ben, when you cover that?
The recommended service first is not a 4-letter word. It's not an impossibility. It's not something that has to come with pain and suffering, which many shop owners and operators have dealt with. Nobody likes rejection. Who wants to keep hearing no? And then who wants to be told, you guys, every time I come in here, you make a $500 estimate. I'm not a rolling ATM machine, right? The relationship has a certain sensitivity about it that if we don't recognize that, if we don't have a way to 100% of the time articulate that there is something needed for the vehicle, we're failing our customer, in my opinion, 100%, and we're failing ourselves, the business. How we relate that information, how we present the information is the secret sauce. And I think, naturally, I'm a biased person here. I've been looking at a TRACS screen for over 25 years. We've got a pretty ingenious way to present the recommended services, follow back up with them later, and give the service writer an opportunity to do something that I think most shop management systems do a little bit with recommended services. I'm not speaking about something that's not maybe commonality, but the reality is the way that we do it in TRACS is it helps identify which customers perceive value when you tell them there's something needed for their car. So that's your cue subliminally that this person's interested. And the only way to build interest in is to create value. So with all SMSs, talking about features and benefits are a big part of it. But recommended services, I think, are one of the underutilized portions of TRACS. But when a shop realizes that, and I'm talking about coast to coast, I've been in the national capacity with TRACS for years, over a decade. The reality that I see with most shops is if they're not doing anything with They're order takers. They're the Burger King special, right? Do you want fries with that? It's the biggest upgrade they ask for, right? But the reality is if they put their 100% focus on recommended services and they use the features in the SMS, take all of last year's sales and multiply it times 1.27. That's the difference in the money that you could be making on something that is not the 4-letter word dreaded intermittent. There's nothing intermittent about radiator hoses, about doing spark plugs, filters, fluids. Mm-hmm. It's very much the gravy work that a lot of technicians want to see put on their work order. It's what pays the bills.
Recommended services, maintenance, really. And I think we fail to appreciate on our own right at our counters that things break down. I mean, I have a furnace that broke down. Furnaces aren't supposed to, you buy a house, the furnace is never supposed to break down, right, John?
That's right. Yeah, it's supposed to work forever.
The plumbing, let me see, how many faucets have we had?
With no maintenance. It's supposed to work forever with no maintenance. Let's be honest.
Yeah, forever. Anyway, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but once we realize that things need to be done, we rely on that vehicle. And again, it goes back to the safety and reliability thing that I'm not sure that the client appreciates and understands. Hey, look, this was eye-opening. I really appreciate this. We've not really done a show this in-depth on getting the most out of your SMS. Point is, you got to wanna, you got to listen, you got to try, you have to embrace. What other great adjectives can I come up with to say that here's the greatest tool in your toolbox, but if you don't open the right drawer, put it in the hand that works. These are great metaphors, right? And actually do something with it. You're going to just have, let me see, a brick on the wall that never moves. Interesting. And the more mortar you put on it, the worse your business is. Free, flexible, moving, just like all software is today. It does. Oh, there's a new update. What's in the update? Well, God, Ben, I can't imagine how hard you have to work to show people new features all the time.
I love doing it.
Boy, I can hear your passion.
We've got some absolutely wonderful users of our application. We have people that I think one of the reasons that we've been successful in the industry is we've got a group of passionate users who have helped guide us into what makes the most sense for the group, that helped us build a platform that works, not just a bunch of people saying, what should we do next? So we've had really, really good users who helped us do that. But there's so much more for people to learn. And that's why we try to give them training in a lot of different ways. And we just hope that they all take advantage of it. And whatever system you have, find out what they offer and find out how you can take that. And I challenge you to follow their bouncing ball. I don't think they probably do it as great as us. That's just me talking. I'm wearing my own blue shirt, right? But everybody out there has got a system in place to help you learn your platform better. And I want you to learn how to do it, because at the end of the day, we want you to buy our parts.
Great close. I appreciate that. You're right. You got to go to the nines with your SMS. You got to make it work for you. And there's only one way that happens is you got to really know it. And you've got to reach out and get as much information as you can. We're going to ASTA this year out in North Carolina. It is because of TRACS who are going to kindly get us there. So we sure appreciate you sponsoring us to go to ASTA this year, John and Ben and the entire TRACS team. We thank you for that. Ben, National Training Manager, never home, always out there, working hard, doing all kinds of training. And of course, John Luttrell, the GM of NAPA TRACS. This was eye-opening. Appreciate you being here, and thank you much.
Thank you for having us, Carm.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.